If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
It's time for the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games at Southern Utah University in Cedar City. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of a Utah sports tradition at utahsummergames.org. Participate in over 50 sports around the state. Then plan to join the opening ceremonies Friday, June 5th, presented by State Bank of Southern Utah. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games.
I've seen all these first-round draft choices in person, the ones at SC and other schools, and I've watched them in practice. And this kid is, in my opinion, is better than all of them. I mean, he's a special – the Bachmeier kid is a special player, and I think he's in a league by himself.
That is former Utah football coach Ron McBride, effusive in his praise of Bear Bachmeier, calling him a special quarterback. Question of the morning, do you think he's right? Well, actually, the question of the morning, don't you think he's right? Jared, Ron is the most qualified quarterback analyst over anyone that's worked at the U in the last 20 years. Oh, that was a shot right there from Jared right out of the gate.
At who?
Let's see, 20 years? I would say Kyle Whittingham.
Okay. I didn't take it that way, but I can see what you're saying.
Which feels a little, given some of the quarterbacks they've had there recently, the last, I don't know what it is, 8 to 10 years. I have to do the math on when they hit on the Florida trio, because when they brought in Huntley, the quarterback play went up. And obviously Cam played well, leading the team to 2 Rose Bowls. The quarterback play was plenty good enough.
Good quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Aaron says, Mac, don't lie. Can you imagine Witt saying anything positive about a BYU player? I do believe we have Kyle Whittingham on the brain around here, PK. Ron McBride talks about Bear Bachmeier, and the comments immediately turn to Kyle Whittingham. All right.
Yeah, I don't see the connection there, but, that was something that was 30 years, almost 20 plus years since Ron had coached at Utah, and he's been out of coaching. He's 87 years old now. He's been out of coaching for a long time, but he is a football lifer through and through. It was probably in his blood the first day he was born. He just didn't know it, and it's going to be his last day on earth, obviously. And the guy loves the sport. He's extremely knowledgeable about it, and he talks about talent no matter where it is. I mean, he was the one who told us that watch out for that Utah State. He always say that Utah State kid or whomever. Right. Speaking of Robert Turbin, and the guy blows up his NFL back, has a 96-yard run against the Utes. And he was talking about him, I think, in the early stages, right? So you got that going on. He certainly has an eye for talent, and he's looking at it objectively. He's long since removed. Now, he's no question he's going to want Utah to win because of his love and affection for Morgan Scalley. But at the same time, he's probably got a relationship with Kalani too. And he's just saying it with no bias in terms of, I like this school, I like that school. That's not what he was talking about. He's able to see what he sees and then speaks on it. So you can feel like it's a true evaluation. And when he says stuff like that, it carries a lot of weight because he has a history of identifying talent and talking about it before it actually even materializes, which is a skill. And I want to talk about Kyle Whittingham. Kyle Whittingham clearly has that skill. He can take a 17-year-old who's playing probably on offense and visualize him at 27 being a Pro Bowl defender. He's done that many, many times over. Tom Holmold told me a story once, very recently. I was actually on the phone with him and was talking to Tom sitting at the Long Beach airport, waiting for the fog to lift one morning. And so I had some time. The flight was delayed about 90 minutes. And he was telling me that Kyle, when Tom got into coaching, they were at some place somewhere in California. I don't remember. And all these coaches are there and they're all watching essentially the same guys. And he looks over at Kyle's notepad and he's got names on that list that nobody else is paying attention to. And I don't even remember the names, but the point he was making is that guy knew how to identify talent, see things that others couldn't. And I think Ron McBride certainly can do that. Now with Bear Bachmeier, it's obvious, isn't it, that this kid has the opportunity to be special. We just saw him play 13, 14 games last year. I guess he didn't miss any games, right? He took most of all the snaps. So, and they finished 12-2. So that's 14 games. And we saw him for a freshman. Now we're grading him as a freshman. If you take those quantifiers and qualifiers off, because now going into his sophomore year, you're not going to say, oh man, he's really good for a sophomore. That's done with. And what does A-Rod do in terms of opening the offense? It's very exciting. And if this kid plays at a better level, which we anticipate this coming season versus what he did the first season, then he really is something that you can look at and say, man, the qualities that he has, they are special.
When he started projecting him over other quarterbacks at other schools and started, basically looking ahead to the NFL, there's no way once he threw the draft out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't had any conversations with people because he's a freshman and he's so far away from being draft eligible. Really, what is the point? It was more about the season right in front of us. And, his coaches aren't going to talk about that. There's no reason a coach would, right?
And what do you mean?
As far as saying, hey, this kid, talking about a freshman quarterback, starts saying this is what he's going to be in the NFL or in the NFL draft.
Oh, a freshman in the NFL.
Right, exactly.
They can talk
Texas,
about being NFL ready, not ready, but possibilities
right.
now.
But he's projecting. He said, I saw these other first-round guys. Was basically what Ronnie Mack was saying. Like, Bears really got it. And so I'd never really even gone down that road. I haven't heard them go down that road publicly or privately at BYU, whether it's Kalani or A-Rod or whoever. I really haven't heard that line. It was more about because the thing was so sudden. And it's like, okay, is he going to be up to speed? How much up to speed is he going to be? And everybody had an eye on Texas Tech. Like that was it as far as the projection. So Ronnie Mack takes it. I will say that the praise for Bear Bachmeier at BYU, both on camera and off, has been consistent and steady. It has never been pointed towards an event that is still 2 years away, and at that point was 2.5 or 3 years away. So I can't say it to that level. And you talked to a bunch of people at BYU too. I think you probably heard the same thing. The praise for Bear Bachmeier has been rock solid. I mean, they really like him, but I don't know that they've ever addressed what Mack was addressing, which is, how's he going to be evaluated in the NFL draft? But as far as Bear having the entire offense down, being able to do pretty much everything they asked him to do. Maybe they'll ask him, probably, almost certainly they'll ask a sophomore to do more than a freshman. But I don't think there's ever been any doubt in the BYU coaching staff minds that when they raise the bar, Bear Bachmeier is going to be able to clear it.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you might not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. They make it super simple. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with coverage options tailored to your choices. Plus, you'll see which discounts you may qualify for, like the online quote discount or savings for paying in full. In fact, 99% of Progressive Auto customers earn at least one discount. See if you could save when you switch to Progressive. You'll feel good about making a savvy choice. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little extra cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
I think generally speaking, particularly at BYU and Utah, and maybe even at Utah State, but certainly at BYU and Utah, if you start all the games as a freshman, you're immediately a possible potential NFL player.
Agree with that.
Because the programs, both of these programs have elevated themselves to where producing NFL players is commonplace. Certainly has been more so at Utah over the last decade plus. BYU will catch up, I believe. And he fits that category, right?
Yep.
I do think when they got him, what was in May, that they felt that this was a great acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know conversations that's a fact, because they said he could have gone anywhere. And they liked the fact that he went to Stanford, because obviously you have to have academic qualifications to get into Stanford. That's just simply a fact. You know, we can go with Sarkeesian saying some schools basket weaving and whatnot. Well, nobody ever says that about Stanford. So you have to have the intelligence. And what position do you probably need the most intelligence in terms of football? And that's quarterback, right? So they felt that this was a 3-year starter at BYU when they got him. They didn't know at the time that year one was literally going to be his first year. The idea was to redshirt behind Retzlaff, and we know what happened there. But they felt like he had the ability, so they were ecstatic. So they weren't really talking about NFL, but because they were so high on him, that NFL possibility in the distance, in my mind, has always been there. Now he's going to be evaluated the next 2 years, inside out, upside down, right? He can't go in 11 months. He has to wait until April of 28, right?
Mm-hmm.
When he's eligible. Now Mac was talking about, he might want to stay that 4th year. That'd be great for BYU. I think it would be great. You might have some transfers there. There might be some anticipation of particularly one kid who's on a mission right now of being the starter at that point. But we'll see, man. Competition, that's what it's about. If you run from competition, that tells you something right off the bat about you. And so we'll see how that plays out in the next couple of years. But it's going to be interesting to see what he can do that builds upon this freshman season. I don't necessarily know that statistically it'll be better. Maybe it will be, but just how he plays, because the bar that he set is really as high a bar as anybody we've seen, at least in my 30 plus years in this area, covering these teams and following these teams at a much more intense level than I ever did before I got here. Obviously, it's the same with you. I'm trying to recall, he established such a high bar that it's going to be hard to really noticeably supersede what he did. I think he can do it, but it may not be noticeable to the average fan. It'd be noticeable to guys like Aaron Roderick, who understand the game and the offensive play at a much higher level than we do. And it'll be interesting to see what he says as the season progresses, because he and his coaches see it live, and then they go back and watch the film 1,000 times, and they can see all the subtleties that go involved. My guess is that will happen. He will be better, even if it's not something that is just overwhelmingly visibly noticeable to the average fan.
Going to be hard to top 11-1 as a freshman. And they threw the ball well. Plus, he was a big part of the running attack. So I get your point about statistically and whether you can improve on 11-1, whether you win a conference title. It's about the rest of the team too. If you can't block Texas Tech, how can you beat them? And that's not on him. When he drops back and 2 or 3 Tech guys drop back with him, they're doomed. And they were doomed twice last year. But to go 11-1 in the 12-game season, ultimately 12-2, that's a really high bar, because we know how few freshmen have played quarterback, and we know exactly. I would think the only person, off the top of my head, the only person at BYU, you might have to go all the way back to Jim McMahon. He was really good really early, but they had other guys on the roster who would start NFL playoff games competing with him. So maybe he had it but couldn't really show what he's doing. But, you're going back 40-plus years. What Bear Bachmeier did is he just cleared every bar. And when they finally lost, they lost twice to the same team, and they lost for reasons he couldn't control. So that was a great freshman year for Bear Bachmeier.
It really was, yeah. As far as those times, I literally didn't see Jim McMahon throw one touchdown pass live. I've seen the Miracle, the Bomb, and the Holiday Bowl and all, but that was all on film. But I had an education about those guys like Bill Marcroft, Dick Harmon, guys who were there and saw it. They have told me about the quality of Jim McMahon, and it's almost in fact, I think it is in a sports way, a reverential tone when they spoke about Jimmy Mack and his ability to put the ball on the money and all the things that he possessed. And they told me, and I believe them because they saw it. So I don't know, but I didn't know that he got a lot of playing time as a freshman. I just know that the people who saw him raved about him as a quarterback. Obviously, I saw him in the NFL. I just didn't see him in college at that time. Games weren't on as much and so forth. I had really no interest in following them. I was following the Pac-10 at that point and wasn't really paying attention to what was going on in the WAC. It wasn't my thing. But I've learned so much about him and have come to admire his college career, even though I never saw it. Bear, maybe when it's said and done, he's going to hold all these types of records. I think that the probably not necessarily the passing records and so forth, because they really run a pro-style offense now, and they're not throwing the ball all over the place. I mean, you look at L.J. Martin, he's the returning MVP, right? Offensive Player of the Year, if I remember. And so as long as he's healthy, we're expecting him to have a massive season. And Bachmeier would probably be the first guy to say, yeah, LJ, have a massive season, because for him, it's about winning. And statistics are hollow unless it's accompanied by a win. And that's where they're after. And that bar has been set so stinking high for the Cougars now, to where a loss is such a big deal. It's so crazy, man. A couple years back when Retzlaff was taking over, we were just talking about them being potentially bowl eligible. That was the goal. Find a way to get to 6. Well, they blew past that in the first 6 games that they got. They were already bowl eligible. And then last year, well, maybe not just bowl eligible, but nobody really knew for sure. Well, they blew past that in the first 6 games. And so to think where this program has come and the talent that they've been able to put out there has really been amazing. And I think it's something that it's almost been underappreciated, which is a lot of the times when you're going through something awesome, it doesn't really get recognized to the level it should until it's over. Yeah. And their run isn't over. Now, in fact, you can argue their run, certainly with Bachmeier, the best is yet to come.
If it was McMahon at BYU, the best freshman year at Utah is Scott Mitchell. And I don't know that he was that. As a freshman, they knew he was going to be awesome. The team obviously didn't have success. The defense wasn't nearly good enough. I think he was turning heads as a freshman, but I think he really blew up as a sophomore. But you should probably ask him about that at some point, I guess. So, yeah, Bear Bachmeier, right, there's not a lot of text him right now. There's go ahead, hit him up. Hey, how awesome were you as a freshman? He'd be like, what? Good morning. What are you guys doing?
He's probably not even up.
Scott, when you wake up, we need to know. We know you were awesome as a sophomore, and we know you played as a freshman, but to what level of awesomeness did you rise as a freshman?
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.